Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. So welcome Claire Norwood to the Focus on Why podcast.
Thank you, Amy. Really pleased to be here.
Oh, I'm delighted. And Claire is all about inspiring women who think it might be too late for them. Now, what does that mean, Claire?
Well, it's come out of my own experience, which is having that feeling of I'm just a mum. And somehow that phrase is almost impossible to say without the word just, which belittles, so much of what goes into parenting. But having come out of 16 years as a full-time mother, I'm 7 years into my new career in property, and I've realised that it's almost less about the property now than about the fact that I am connected with so many women now who are poised on that journey themselves and maybe feeling like I don't have the right, I don't have the skills, maybe it's too late. And I just want to say to them, no to all of that. It's all doable. And actually, you've probably got more than you think you've got to bring to the table.
So 7 years, what is it you're doing now? What have you been doing over those 7 years?
Oh, I've been on a roller coaster ride of, it's felt like lots of failed attempts to get into property, but actually each one has been a step that's got me a bit further along. And it started with some very expensive property training back in 2013. I'll say the figure, we spent £25,000. We got our credit card out and did it. And I didn't regret it. I threw myself into it. I learned everything I could. And I found a little opportunity through doing that, which wasn't a project. It was one of the trainers on the course was based in London. And I thought, well, he was a sourcer. He found investment property for private clients. So I thought, well, maybe, I don't have the confidence to buy in London, given how much it costs. Maybe I'll pay him to do it. So we commissioned him. But in the process, I got so excited about what he was doing. I was saying, well, can I do that bit? And can I do that research? And can I deal with the solicitor on that? And, can I request the management pack? And in the end, I just thought, I'm going to be really cheeky and ask him for a job. So I did. And he said, listen, I'm just a little startup myself, but if you're happy not to be paid very much, jump on board, really. And so even though I was only meant to do 2 days a week, I couldn't resist. I ended up working full time for the same very small amount of money. I wasn't too fussed. I felt like I had a role in life. I was important. I was helping build this business. I was racing around London, viewing properties and running the numbers and taking prospective clients on tours of potential purchases. And oh my God, I had the best time. And then he came back to me and said, listen, you've got a bit of a design sensibility. Do you want to manage all the refurbs? Because part of it was buying the properties. The second part was now we're going to add some value to them and get some tenants in. So then I was given the job of working with the builders and then deciding on how it was all going to look and buying some furniture and accessories. And so I got to indulge my creative side on a very small budget. And I mean, I was earning £1,000 a month for a full-time job, which did eventually start to grate. But, for 3.5 years, I did that. And I learned so much. I helped buy 30 properties, negotiate them. 15 of those I project managed the refurbs. So, I learned so much. So although, I always felt like I felt like I should have been paid more, I can't discount the fact that I walked away from that role knowing so much about property and how it works. And in the meantime, I bought 3 of my own.
Absolutely.
Using his formula. So, I got a lot out of it.
So that was a pretty good return on investment, really, then, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, there was. I mean, yes and no. I had a lot of years where there was a lot of resentment around that, unfortunately, it came at a point. I started in my late 40s. As I was coming out of that job, I was heading into the menopause, and it's a sad fact of the menopause that it does hit you on many levels, emotionally, psychologically. I cried a lot at that point. Just I found life really difficult, and I think a lot of the situation that arose around that role and my lack of being paid very much probably was escalated by my state at the time. It was just all a bit miserable, and it ended with me having a bit of a breakdown, I have to be honest.
I think it's really inspiring, your honesty and your vulnerability that you're showing here, to just explain that it's normal. This is normality. This is the way that life works. This is what happens to women, and
Oh, yeah.
not just in the late stages of menopause, but throughout their entire lifetime of raising children and having that battle of whether they work or not.
Yeah, it is. It's another layer that you have to deal with. And I think I look back now and I think, my God, you kept going throughout that. I think I had about 6 months where my parents had to come and practically move in with me and just look after me. But then I was like, no, that's it. I'm going out again, because I was still on this mission to prove myself, which is what it was all about in the first place. Wanting to get into property. It was like, I can show that I count, that I matter, that I'm worth something in the world. Because as a mum, I obviously wasn't worth anything. So it was just back again to, okay, that one maybe didn't work. Right, I'm going to go back out and try again. Prove to the world and to myself that I matter. Even though, of course, we all just matter anyway, don't we?
100%, absolutely. So your developments that you're doing right now, just tell me what sort of projects you're on at the moment.
I mean, if I'd told myself 7 years ago that this is what I'd be doing, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't have believed myself. I'm working on 2 projects that combined, well, it's 30 individual properties that we're building. The GDV is estimated at around just short of £6 million, and so that equates to 2 projects. One is 9 detached houses near Exeter, and the other one is an old office in Devon that we are converting to 21 apartments. And that one will be finished, well, it was due to be finished in July. I think due to coronavirus, we're probably looking at autumn 2020. And the new build probably later this year. But yeah, we're well progressed with both of them, and I've raised the finance with my business partner and brought it all together. Oh my God, how did I do that?
Well, it's incredible, and what a great story to prove to people that if you're determined, that you can do whatever you want, and with all those skills that you've acquired on the way, all those soft skills, that the actual tangible skills as well.
Yes, I mean, I've learned a lot about what goes into successful developments on a very kind of, what you need to know level, skills and knowledge. But more than that, I think what I've learned is that all those years of being a mum and managing our household budgets and, policies that you have to set up and manage, while my husband was away working, I was doing all of that and really not thinking that it was giving me much. But all of that has sort of been brought to bear in these developments by engaging with investors, communicating with them on the way through, bringing on board professional partners who I've met through networking. I didn't think I had any skills. I really didn't, Amy. And yet there is such a place for those soft skills, as you put it, and just having the emotional intelligence to know who needs to be communicated and when, because I just think property is about something happens and you go, right, who needs to know this? And Helen Chorley, who we both know and admire greatly, is always talking about investor relations and how the best developers don't just go quiet on their investors. And I mean, I'm an investor myself, and I know when a developer communicates with you well, you feel valued, you feel like you're part of this project that you've put your hard-earned money into. So, I just think, well, how would I like to be treated? I'd like to get a really nicely laid out, information filled, regular update. So that's what I do. And I may not write all of it. I may not produce the numbers. My business partner is the numbers guy, and he'll give me that. But I get it together from multiple sources, and I think you need skills to do that. You need to be able to get people to work with you and supply the information you need by a certain time, and that's people skills. And if you've been a mum, you've got those skills. It's like, okay, those are not unimportant skills.
No, they're incredibly valuable, and understanding how you can deploy them and transfer them into a business is crucial, especially in property, because it is all about people. And I, I think that having those tangible skills of understanding how the marketing works, how the operations work, they're important. But the real communication skills, which it comes with experience, comes with knowledge and years. I mean, it's maturity as well, of understanding how people want to be treated. And it's just simple rule 101.
Absolutely, and it's such a lovely kind of liberating feeling that actually you don't need to know everything. You just need to know the right people who you can then orchestrate and bring together and put into conversations as and when needed. And that's a really important role in itself. And I think a lot of developments lack that, maybe that one person who connects the dots. So everyone's working in isolation, and then there's miscommunication and people feel left out. So yeah, I found a role for myself that has called upon all the skills that I thought I didn't really have, or that weren't worth anything. And suddenly it's it's great. It's lovely.
So how does it make you feel? I mean, other than great and lovely, how does it really make you feel?
Oh, I feel like I want to tell other women, and I think because of when we're now we've got this community growing around us. We call it property sisters, don't we? It's not an entity. It's just a name for a group of women who all share similar values. And I think so many of us are just finding ways of reinventing ourselves. And property has given us that platform in a way. But we're all feeling like this is it. It's facilitating our why in a way, isn't it? Like my why is, I want to show that I've got value in the world, that I can produce beautiful homes for people that they'll love living in and can afford to buy. But then there's this whole other level of, oh my God, in the process, I'm inspiring other women and I'm bringing other women up with me. And we're all doing that to each other. It's not just me. There's this real sense of, I just don't know if it's existed in the world before. Do you think? It's like this social media world where we've all connected and we've all gone, okay, you lack that, so I can give you that. And you're giving me something, and we're all kind of lifting each other up. And
I think it's an incredible thing. When I first started networking in property about 4 years ago, and I started to see this culture between the people who network, that they're very generous with their time and their knowledge. And I think that women connecting, women on women in this environment, connect at a different level. We connect at an emotional level. And I think that's why we are very keen just to see one another succeed, because we've seen the struggles that we go through from the perspective of being mums, or perspective of being challenged in the work environment. And I think that we don't have those barriers amongst us, and so that means that we are rising faster and we progress faster.
It's true. I think by sharing our vulnerabilities, we respect each other more. But well, I was talking to you about this earlier, but having spoken to a very well respected property developer, he's been around for decades and he's seen it all. And he was just saying that when he sees other developers admitting when they don't know things, asking for help, for him that is a sign of strength. And he would like to see more of that, more of developers not just sort of going, no, I know it all, a bit of arrogance, which I think, property developers have historically been kind of quite arrogant alpha males, haven't they? And there's this new breed of women coming up who are not afraid to say, actually, we don't know and we need help. And certainly my investors have made it clear that that's what they like about investing with us, that we don't know it all. Yes, we do sometimes make mistakes, and we'll share those things that have gone wrong with our investors. And quite often our investors have something to bring to the table and they can help. We've got lawyers, we've got people with construction experience who actually go, oh guys, I've got an idea here. So rather than just kind of batten down the hatches and go, no, we're fine. Shit, what are we going to do? Because we can't admit. It's like this new way of doing business where you can go, no, we're having struggling here, guys. Let's all put our heads together and work it out. And oh my God, it feels so much better to do business like that. And it seems to be, I don't know, like happening all around us. I suppose like attracts like, doesn't it, within our community?
I think so. And I think it's not just property that this is becoming prominent in, it's in other industries as well. It is definitely the emotional intelligence that's coming through and the different way of operating, and also the lack of ego getting in the way. And I think that there's a huge amount of wealth of knowledge that can be shared amongst different industries. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get this podcast out, was because the different type of industries I'm hearing and speaking to people from all different areas of, from finance, from coaching, from property, from health, from mindset. There's so many different areas, and what that shows me is that we can share this knowledge with each other freely, that will benefit all of us. That's what's so important.
Exactly. And I think there's a real hunger for people to be more honest about some of the bad stuff that's happened to us all, like investments gone wrong. I think there's there's a lot of stories around now about mentorships that haven't been all they've been cracked up to be. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I've had a particularly bad experience myself with a mentor. And I think by sharing that, we can prevent other people from making the same mistakes. And it's social media as well. It's like we're all fed up of the shiny, polished, filtered, smoke and mirrors version of everything. People want to see they want to see you without your makeup on, and they want to see you on a building site and explaining why something went wrong, but how you're going to deal with it. We all know that property it's just one problem after another, isn't it? That's what it is problem solving.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I'm still not doing it well enough. And I've even been training people on social media recently to do this, but it's like by being honest about your mistakes or your learnings, everyone benefits. And I spoke to a property host recently and told him about my experiences with this mentor who, I lost an awful lot of money as a result. And he wants me to share my experiences. So I'm going to go on his virtual event later this year and talk about it openly with Helen, actually. But he was saying, Claire, it will boost your credibility. It won't detract from it. And I think we're all so hungry to know that we're not alone in having made mistakes and poor judgment. I'm so trusting. I've gone along through my 7 years of property just thinking everyone is just lovely and everyone can be trusted, and I think everyone does mean well, but I've learned that there's a reason why lawyers exist and why due diligence gets done, and why Helen says that there's no such thing as being a passive investor. Oh, I've learned so much. But by sharing the painful experiences behind my learning, I think, it benefits everybody, doesn't it?
And there's a huge amount of value in what you're saying, and it's very important that you recognize that, because those mistakes do serve you in life, and we all make mistakes, and I think that the brain, I was writing something recently, but the brain is very much a success mechanism. It thrives on success, but actually if you retrain the brain to think of attempts, of tries, as being the successes, and that gives you the feedback that you need every time you try something new, your brain sees that as a success mechanism, and that's the way you can retrain the synapses to work and just be, so you are looking for new experiences, you're looking to try new things, learn new things, take them on board, and not think it's a difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. So
it is, and also just like I've realized now, I'm surrounded by so many positive people. They just won't allow for negativity. So I've learned to reframe so many bad things that have happened. Actually, something really good has come from every single one of them. And even like with coronavirus, there's a lot of bad that's come of it. But looking back at one of our projects that we just got the show homes launched. We've got 12 off-plan reservations coming in, and then the coronavirus comes along and shuts it all down. And for a moment, I did go into negative thinking, which is, how could this happen just when things were going so well? And then I was like, no, let's swap this around. Thank God it's happened now, just when things were going so well, because our banks are looking at us going, well, if we're going to stick with any of our projects, we're going to stick with them because they've got such a good track record. They were clearly managing it well. So I'm like, oh, actually, no, it happened exactly the right way. It's all mindset, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. So, I mean, you talked about your recent journey, and you talked about being a mum. What was it you were doing before even children?
I always felt like all my friends were off on the corporate career ladder. I had a friend who was magazine editor, and another one who went off into the music industry and did big things. And I was just sort of like a bit of this, a bit of that. And I did publishing, then I did marketing, then I did PR. And I just thought I was useless at all of them because I was so shy, Amy. I was so lacking in confidence. So I probably had the ability to have gone far in any of them, but I just always thought, no, I'm rubbish, I'm no good, I'll stop and do something different. And then I met my husband in my mid-20s, and he'd just come out of art school. He had no money, he was very kind of, just thought, he was going to be a filmmaker, and he wasn't money minded. And he was like, what would you just love to do? And I was like, I just want to make shoes. So he's like, well, why don't you? So I basically saved up for 6 months and went back to Cordwainers College and learned to be a shoemaker. And we both lived on nothing for a few years. It just felt romantic, and no children. And I was being a shoemaker, and I was basically working around town with all these Greek Cypriot shoemakers, John Lobbs in Mayfair, and I was down in the basement kind of learning how to make patterns and sew uppers, and I got myself a little workshop in Islington, and I started getting private clients, and then all my shoes started being in Vogue and Elle, and I wasn't making any money, but it seemed good at the time. And I was producing shoes for catwalk shows like Alexander McQueen, Catherine Hamnett, made a pair of shoes for David Bowie, but it was a business model that had no foundations, really. It was just me working really hard for no money. and and then I got pregnant, and it somehow just seemed like a way out, because I couldn't see how to make anything of it, because I didn't feel that I could charge proper money, because I've never felt that. So actually being a mum, which I'd always wanted to do, it just felt like it came at the right time, if I'm honest. So I just threw myself into motherhood and went hell for leather on that. That's been my life, really. I find something, I'm like, this is it, and I go mad, crazy into it, and to the exclusion of everything else, really. And then I did the same with motherhood. I became like this mad earth mother for like 16 years, because I wanted to prove myself in that. But they're all chapters in your life, aren't they?
Oh, 100%. And when you look back and you see how committed you were, that shows a dedication of character. And that's what people see in you right now.
Yes, maybe that's it. When I get my teeth into something, I give it everything.
Yeah.
I can't do things by halves at all. And everything I've done, I've loved so much. Like now, property doesn't feel like work. I literally love it. I love everything about it. I don't enjoy the PGs. I do not like going to bed every night knowing that I've signed those bits of paper, but kind of comes with the territory. And I think I'm learning resilience as well. That you learn that you do get through these things, or even the bad things end. And I think the more times you can come through the bad things and go, well, I'm still alive and I've learned this. I certainly won't do it again. And I'm going to tell as many people as I can, so that I stop them doing the same thing. That's the way everything works, isn't it? I got to 56 and I suddenly realized that's how the world works. Stuff happens, you deal with it, and you move on.
And you're so giving in everything you do. You're so generous in your time and your knowledge in a sense. And I think it's been such a pleasure being part of the Property Sisters and working and seeing you work alongside you. It's awesome. And I'm so proud to have all of you in my tribe, or not my tribe. I mean, it's our tribe. Yeah. It's just so special, because I think we are always learning. Every day's a school day. I learned loads of things recently from you on Instagram that I didn't know existed, so that was great. So it's always useful to have new tool set and use that. But I think that what I really see, and what I've this podcast has really shown me, is just how you are so strong in what you do, and yet you don't necessarily see your superpowers yourself.
I think I'm beginning to get it. I'm a very slow learner, but I think that what I've learned is you can keep reinventing yourself if you've got, like you said, Amy, that growth mindset. So, like with social media, a few years ago, I hadn't got a clue, but I'm like, I am going to learn this. And when I did my values recently, I somehow ended up with relevance. I want to stay relevant. And sometimes I feel like I'm a bit of a teenager on Instagram. I'm really too old to be doing this, but no, I'm enjoying it. I love my gifts, and I love showing other people how to do it. And I love learning these new skills. And there's always something new to learn and share with everyone. And I keep getting excited about life, basically. I would just love to think that at some point, some money could come back, because to the outside world everyone goes, oh Claire, you're doing so well, you're so successful. And I'm like, well, my bank account still doesn't show that. But property's a bit of a long game, isn't it?
100%. Yeah.
I'm fully expecting in a year or two to go, oh my god, I did that. So
And it will happen. I definitely guarantee that. I wouldn't put a PG on it, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And actually, I should add, part of that, yes, I want to see the money in my account, but to pay our investors back will give me even more pleasure. Just to go, we actually did it. We delivered. I mean, just to give them their capital back would make me over the moon. But anything on top of that is going to be this huge bonus. And I'll be deliriously happy when that day comes.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for inspiring the women who think it's too late, because I think this whole podcast has been all about that. And it's something that's very, very close to my own heart. I always say it's never too late to be what you might have been. I'm a midlife beginner, as are you. And there's much more to life than just sort of letting things go and thinking it's too late. Oh my goodness, look what we've both achieved in these years.
Honestly, it is never too late.
Yeah.
And you just need to find your tribe, your community, and they scoop you up, and before you know it, you're on your way.
Absolutely. So what would be your key message? I mean, other than being scooped up by your tribe, what would you say to people right now?
If you're thinking about getting into property, just really think about the skills that you've got and don't discount them, because even those soft skills they are more important than you realize in property. And all the hard skills, you can find professional partners to bring that to the table. So you can be the glue that holds projects together, and connecting with the right people is just a matter of time. Once you slot into those networks, it all happens, because like attracts like. And it's just getting out of your comfort zone just enough to put your hand up and connect with a few people, and the ball starts rolling, and suddenly it's all happening.
Thank you for listening to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave me a 5-star iTunes review. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook, and become a member of the inspiring, uplifting and positive Focus on Why Facebook group. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.